Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm one of the Teen Services Librarians at Sachem Public Library, and welcome to my home garden. Today's Gardening Together at Home program is DIY seed balls. There are two reasons why I really like today's program. One of the reasons that I really like today's program is that all of the tools and ingredients that we're using are really basic and tend to be things we already have in our house. So we don't have to run a bunch of errands to gather all of this stuff before we can even begin. The second reason that I really like this program is that it's great for all ages. All of our tools we're using and equipment are safe. All of the ingredients we're using are safe. The instructions to make the DIY seed balls are simple to follow. So this is a really great family-friendly garden program. There are a number of ingredients and tools you will need for today's project. You want to make sure you have some water. You're also going to need a pot of dirt. You're going to want to use just a small garden shovel to help mix all of our ingredients. You're also going to need flower seed. I'm using a wildflower mix today, but you can use any flower seeds you have on hand or anything that you would enjoy. You're also going to need flour. I have some just all-purpose flour around, so I'm going to be using that, but whatever you have in your home, that will work too. And you may want to throw on an old pair of gloves just because you are going to be using. You will also need an empty pot to mix all of your ingredients together. I also happen to have some compost on hand, so I'm going to mix that in with my dirt. That's optional. If you have some, you can always add it in. It may help to just make your plants and your flowers a little bit stronger and a little bit brighter. Hi everybody, we're going to get started. The first thing I want to do is want to gather all of our ingredients so we have them handy. This way we can just kind of get right into it. The first thing that I did that I definitely would suggest doing is I would add your flour to a separate bowl or Tupperware. You'll see that I put mine in a bowl here. We're going to be going back and forth to the flour a few times, and with our gloves on and using all of our other ingredients, we don't want to end up contaminating any flour that you're using for baking or for cooking. So I would throw a couple of cups, maybe 2 or 3 cups in a dish or in a piece of Tupperware, bring it outside with you so that you have it and you're not worrying about getting dirt into your regular flour. Once you add that flour into the dish, the next thing that I would do is I would throw on my gloves. This program is a little messy. We're going to be using our hands to mix together all of our ingredients, and the gloves will just help keep us a little bit cleaner. So I'm going to throw my gloves on. Okay. And once I have my gloves on, I'm going to go ahead and grab my empty container. Okay, we have an empty pot. You can use a Tupperware, anything that's going to hold your ingredients. And we use our empty container so that we can then take everything and mix it all together. So with my empty container, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in my dirt. Now the rule of thumb, the formula that we're going to kind of start with is for 10 parts dirt, we have 1 part flour, 1 part seed. So if you added 10 cups of dirt in, you would add 1 cup of flour and 1 cup of seed. That is our base level mixture. Obviously all dirt is a little different, so sometimes we may have to tweak as we go, but that's usually where we start. You don't have to measure it out exactly. I wouldn't worry about bringing out a measuring cup and adding exactly in. You can certainly eyeball it, but that's the ratio we're shooting for, 10, 1, and 1. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna add some dirt into my container. Okay, and you see I have my dirt here. Now, because I had some compost handy, I'm gonna add the compost in too, and I'm gonna count that along with my dirt. So I'm gonna add about 10 cups of a dirt compost mixture. Now again, the compost, it's optional if you don't have it, or even if you have PEATMOSS, you can add that in as well. Totally optional. It just may help your flowers grow a little bit faster and a little bit brighter, but they'll certainly grow just simply with dirt, water, and flour. So I have my soil. I'm gonna add a couple of scoops in of my compost too. Okay, and you'll see I have my dirt here in my empty container. Once I have my dirt in my empty container, I'm going to add in my flour, and I'm also going to add in that seed. Okay, so again, the flour, for every 10 parts of dirt, I'm gonna add in that 1 cup of flour. So in this case, I probably have about 5 cups of dirt, so I'm gonna add about a 1/2 cup of flour. We can always add in more. So I'm gonna just sprinkle some in, okay, adding in my flour. And then I'm gonna add the same amount of flour as bird seed. So I want equal parts flour with equal parts bird seed. Okay, so I'm adding in my bird seed into my mixture. Okay, great. And you'll see that I have my mixture here of flour, seed, and dirt. You want to have 10 parts dirt, 1 part flour, and 1 part seeds. It doesn't have to be exact, but it's a good base, and then we can add and tweak as we go. I added in my dry ingredients. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give it a good mix. Now you want your mixture, you'll see I'm using my hands. You want your mixture, you want that flour to really coat the dirt. You'll see here that I'm really still pretty dark in color, so I'm gonna add a little more flour because I wanna see that flour within the dirt. Don't want the flour to be lost amongst my other ingredients. So I'm gonna just go ahead, I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit more in, just to be sure, okay? And I'm gonna give it a good mix. Once we have our mixture, now we're gonna wanna start to add in the water. What the water will do is the water is gonna mix with the flour and actually form a little bit of an adhesive, and it's gonna help to allow us to mold our dirt into a solid structure with those seeds and everything mixed in. So I'm gonna go grab my water, sprinkle a little bit in, and then we can start to make our seed balls. Okay, so we have our mixture, we have all of our dry ingredients, and now we want to start adding water to our mixture. Before you add any water in, remember that the water is going to work with the flour to make that adhesive. So if we add in too much water, it's going to kind of drown everything out, and we're not going to be able to get the texture of our ingredients to be able to mold it into the balls. So we want to just add a little bit of water at a time. You can always add more water in, but you can't take water out. So when you're adding the water initially, just put in a little bit, see what it looks like, mix it together, and then we can always add in more ingredients. If you do end up adding in too much water, not a problem. That's why we have extra flour on hand, why we have some more dirt. We can always get back to the consistency that we want. So I have my ingredients, I have my water, and I'm just gonna add in just a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna start there. See how little I put in? Probably 1/4 cup. Again, just a little bit. And since I have my gloves on, I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna mix this dirt. Okay, now you'll see my hands are already getting dirty. Dirt is already starting to stick to my gloves. Okay, but we're gonna mix it, and as I'm mixing it, I'm seeing that it's still pretty dry towards the bottom. We wanna make sure that all of our ingredients are getting wet, just not too wet. So it's a balance that we have to find. So I'm gonna add in a little bit more water, probably another 1/4 cup or so, and then I'm gonna give it a good mix. Okay. You'll know that you have the right consistency that as you're mixing it, it already starts to kind of solidify and stick together. You'll see that it starts to get lumpy, and it's almost like you can push it and it will, mold to your hands, okay? So once you get that good consistency, you're gonna wanna grab a handful in your fingers, okay? So I have a little bit here. Once I have my amount and it has this good texture and it almost turns into a little bit like a clay, I can mold it into my ball, kind of like I'm making a meatball, okay? And I have one of my seed bombs. I'm gonna continue with my mixture, and as you work through, you may find, oh, it's a little dry towards the bottom. You can always add more water in, or maybe you notice that you have too much flour at the bottom, you didn't get a good mix. That's okay. That's what we have our ingredients handy. We can always add more. But again, I grab some more of my mixture because I have my gloves on. I can use them to mold it, and I make my round circle meatball seed bomb. Okay? And I'm going to continue on. And what I really love about this project and why I wanted to do this project with you guys this week is because in my backyard, I have like a wooded part of my yard, and it really grows in so nice and lush and beautiful, but I really wanted to add some color. So I'm using wildflower seeds in my seed bombs, and what I'm going to do is I can throw them over the fence because the area that I want to add color to, I can't really get in there to plant. So this is a great alternative. I can add the seeds to it, I can toss them over the fence into that wooded area, and I'm hoping that a few will stick and I can add some color to that space. You can certainly just plant them right into a pot or any other garden area that you have, and then you'll be able to have your flowers to enjoy. You'll see behind me I have a whole wooded area. This is where I was hoping to plant my wildflowers. So I take my seed balls, and since they already have the water there and I have my dirt mixture, I can just give them a toss into that space and I'll be able to watch them grow. And hopefully in a few weeks I'll have some color in my garden.